What's up, guys? It's Clipx here with another video. But hey, we're back, and this is how millennials and Gen Z got absolutely screwed over. Thanks, Boomer. So from the gold standard all the way to the Vietnam War, the dot-com bubble and the great financial crisis, COVID-19, and an uncontrollable amount of money printing, money go burr, or printer go burr, and the highest inflation since the gold standard. This is how millennials are facing the scariest financial future of any generation since the Great Depression. Like everyone in my generation, I am finding it increasingly difficult not to be scared about the future and angry about the past. Let me know in the comments if you do feel the same below, and drop a like while you're doing it. We've all heard the statistics. More millennials living with their parents than with roommates. We're not getting married as soon as previous generations, and we're not having kids or buying homes for longer than the previous generation. And according to the oldies, our problems are just because of us, and it's our own fault when we got the wrong degree, blah blah blah, we're lazy, you know, you've heard it all before. So like mention millennial to anyone over 40 and the word entitlement will come back at you within seconds. Our own intergenerational game of Marco Polo. Millennial entitlement, you're entitled, Gen Z moron. Okay, this is what it feels like to be young now. Not only are we screwed, but we have to listen to lectures about our laziness and our participation trophies from the people who screwed us over. But generalizations about millennials, like those about any other arbitrary defined group of 75 million people, fall apart under the slightest scrutiny. Contrary to the cliche, the vast majority of millennials did not go to college, do not work as baristas, and cannot lean on their parents for help. Every stereotype of our generation applies to the tiniest, richest, widest sliver of young people, and the circumstances we live in are more than dire than most people seem to realize. A little bit like everything is coming full circle now. Boomers had pensions. We have do-it-yourself pension plans, aka a Roth IRA or something. We don't really have 401ks really anymore either, and they don't match up to 6%. It's usually the top of 2 or 3% for most jobs if you haven't got a master's degree, which, by the way, is a whole other story with the student loan debt that is going on in our country right now. It is astronomically high, and the interest rates are only going to start going back up once the Fed hikes rates, causing more downside in the markets. And this is just holy crap, man. Are you feeling overwhelmed? I fucking am. All right. Okay, boomers, you were lucky to be born when you were, all right? The biggest difference between millennials and boomers is largely the political system and how America has since the 1970s favored the rich and slowly but surely killed off the middle class. I am sure it's obvious now. The wealth gap is massive, and it is probably unfixable at this point. But we can reverse the political laws and regulations that allow the rich to stay rich and the middle class can thrive again. Maybe they don't realize the middle class is the backbone of American economy, and without it, this empire will burn to rubble and ash. Bye-bye. Like a fucking bad joke, you know, from your dad. A terrible joke, right? That's another thing. You boomers invented the dad joke. The dad joke. It's our responsibility to vote and properly research who we are voting for so we can get the necessary changes to bring prosperity back to the middle and poverty classes of America. We have taken on at least 300% more student debt than our parents. We are half as likely to own a home as young adults were in 1975, and 1 out of 5 of us is living in poverty right now. Based on current trends, many of us won't be able to retire until we're 75. 75. You know, I gotta have my own beep. I don't know why. I'm probably gonna edit another one in anyway. I don't really understand why I did it. But it's not just the numbers. What is different about us individuals compared to previous generations is minor. What is different about the world around us is profound. Salaries have stagnated in entire sectors. I'm sure you've heard plenty about the wage spiral, or the price wages spiral, or whatever the hell, you know? Interest rates, God damn it, let me start over. I'm sure you've heard of the wage price spiraling, and it's the inflation is going higher by about 3% compared to our wages. So in reality, our wages have not increased, they've actually decreased 3%. And a lot of jobs these days are trying to make it seem like, oh, you're getting paid more money than 2 years ago. It's better. No, it's not better, okay? It's way worse. What is different about individuals? Okay, blah, 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 blah. Salaries have stagnated and entire sectors have cratered. At the same time, the cost of everything prerequisite of secure existence, education, housing, and healthcare has inflated into the stratosphere from job security. Dude, I swear I just saw something behind me, bro. Am I tripping? I don't think I'm tripping out. Okay. Has inflated into the stratosphere from job security to the social safety net. All the structures that insulate us from the ruin are eroding, and the opportunities leading to a middle-class life, the ones that the boomers lucked into, are being lifted out of our reach. Add it all up, and it's no surprise that we are the first generation in modern history to end up poorer than our fucking parents were. This is why the touchstone experience of millennials, the thing that truly defines us, is not a helicopter parenting or unpaid internships or Pokemon Go or Fortnite. It is the uncertainty. Some days I breathe and it feels like something is about to burst out of my chest, says Jimmy Matzinger. I am 25 and I'm still the same place I was when I earned minimum wage. 4 days a week, she works at a dental office. Fridays, she's a nanny. Weekends, she's babysitting. And still, she couldn't keep up with her rent, car lease, and student loans. Surprise, surprise. Earlier this year, she had to borrow money to file for bankruptcy. You had to take a loan out to file for bankruptcy. This is insane. Like, this is a real story of someone I'm reading right now in an article. Okay. Earlier this year, I heard the same walls closing in anxiety from millennials around the country and across the income scale, from cashiers in Detroit to nurses in Seattle. It's tempting to look at the recession as the cause of all of this, the great fucking from which we are still waiting to recover, aka 2008's financial crisis. But what are we living through now, and what the recession merely accelerated is a historic convergence of economic maladies. Many of the decades in the making. Decision by decision, the economy has turned into a young people screwing machine, and not a good kind of machine. I don't know if there would be a good kind of like rape machine. That's sorry. Boop, cut that out. Oh, okay. But the blame doesn't fall on companies. Trade groups have responded to the dwindling number of secure jobs by digging a moat around the few that are left. Over the last 30 years, they successfully lobbied state governments to require occupational licenses for dozens of jobs that never used to need them. It makes sense. The harder it is to become a plumber, the fewer plumbers there's going to be. The harder it is to become like an electrician, the less electricians there's going to be. Like, trade schools are becoming more expensive and harder to complete. So there's just less people doing like necessary jobs. And also the fact that we all know that like AI is going to take over soon, robots will be doing basically almost everything, and then the middle class and the poor classes just aren't needed anymore. And this is actually starting to head towards a major disaster that we can avoid and we should avoid. So we need to proactively educate each other on this stuff, and we need to change this scenario. Over the last 30 years, nearly a third of American workers now need some kind of state license to do their jobs. This was a need in the 90s, the 80s, okay? This is another reason why it's harder to get a job. Like, you can't even become a health insurance representative for customer service unless you go through this freaking crazy 4-week class and then take an extremely difficult test to pass. Who gives a flying about insurance? That's so freaking complicated. And in most other developed countries, you don't even need an official permission to cut hair or pour drinks. Here, those jobs can require up to $20,000 in schooling and 2,100 hours of instruction and unpaid practice. And some, nearly every path to the stable income now demands tens of thousands of dollars before you get your first paycheck or have any idea whether you've chosen the right career path. I was literally paying to work. Another person says, a 29-year-old dietitian in Texas, I was literally paying to work myself. I've changed the names of some of people in the story because they don't want to get fired from their jobs. As part of her master's degree, she was required to do a year-long internship in the hospital. It was supposed to be training, but she says she worked the same hours and did the same task as paid staffers. I took out an extra $20,000 in student loans to pay tuition for the year I was working for free. All of these trends, the cost of education, the rise of contracting, the barriers to skilled occupations, add up to an economy that has deliberately shifted the risk of economic recession and industry disruption away from companies and onto individuals. For our parents, a job was a guarantee of a secure adulthood. For us, it is a gamble. And if we suffer a setback along the way, there is no little to keep us from sliding into disaster. That's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed. Like the video, subscribe.